A king, a queen, attack on a prison. Angry moms, rebels, blood and guts. The playful whoosh of the guillotine and decapitated heads. Then nothing. Sounds familiar? Well, say it for you. It's called the French Revolution. It started out with King Louis XVI of France and his wife, Marie Antoinette, who both incapable of ruling the country. They wasted so much on luxury and raised so many taxes. Of course, the people outside were starving and becoming angrier by the second. At that time, France was divided into three estates: the clergy, the religious leaders, the nobles, the landowners with power, and the third estate with everyone else. Some of the third estates, the sans-culottes, the artisans, were the leaders of the revolution, but many were also peasants who were very poor, and so French economy was slowly crumbling to bits. And to make things even worse, France was aiding the Americans in the Revolutionary War. Later on, people would come to realize how ironic this was, because little did King Louis know that it would soon be France's turn to have a revolution.
The French Revolution did not happen all at once. However, it happened through strings of important events that all led to the end of it. And the first major flashpoint was the storming of the Bastille. On July 14th of 1789, a group of people consisting of no more than 1,000 people aimed for the large supply of weapons and ammunition cache in the Bastille fortress. Therefore, the angered people felt the need to take something back as retaliation. The result was the storming of the Bastille. And at the start of the day, people had gathered around the prison demanding for gunpowder and weapons. But when the guard refused point blank, the situation started to heat up. After a long discussions and arguments, a panicky guard shot a person in the crowd. Oops! At the sign of death, the crowd went wild like rabid animals, and that was when the killing and fighting started. In the end, the people succeeded in taking the weapons they wanted. Only 98 of the attackers and one of the defenders died that day. And the people were victorious. Bastille was a fortress that represented royal authority and monarchy, and so when it was stormed, it gave people hope. And so it was through this the third estate took as a symbol that they could accomplish anything together. This was the trigger to the revolution.
Despite the fact that the storming of the Bastille gave people courage, however, King Louis remained oblivious to his country's terrible conditions. And so, the next turning point of the revolution was to make King Louis bow down to it: the Women's March on the Versailles. It took place on the morning of October 5th, 1789. The march had initially begun among women in the marketplaces of Paris who were furious about the high price and the scarcity of bread. Most of them were mothers, and they finally decided to march to the Palace of Versailles and confront the king himself. Now imagine your mother angry, and now imagine 7,000 angry moms. That was basically what the march was. The angry mob of nearly 7,000 working women armed with pitchforks, pikes, and muskets marched in the rain from Paris to Versailles. To the beating of a drum, the women chanted, "Bread! Bread!" And when the mob arrived at the palace, they demanded that the king deliver bread to all the people of Paris, sanction the August decrees and the Declaration of the Rights of Man of the Citizen, and then accompany them back to Paris to see for himself the plight of his subjects. The king had no choice but to agree to their terms. The next day, Louis and Marie Antoinette became prisoners of the third estate, the common people. They were never again to return to Versailles, which was a symbol of the unlimited power and grace that the royal family had. And now, the king and his wife were stripped of that power. They stayed in a dingy, nasty, run-down palace until their plans of attempt to escape were discovered and they executed by the guillotine.
During the Reign of Terror, Robespierre and the Jacobins were the largest masters of power. So many were being killed in the process to sort out anyone who disagreed with the revolution and constitutional monarchy. The guillotine blade was dropping like crazy, and people were dying in packs. Robespierre was also a power-hungry man. He made brilliant speeches. However, it seemed that with the more authority that he gathered, the more deluded he became. And when Danton, another leading figure in the revolution, claimed that it was now time to focus on building the new constitutional monarchy, he retaliated by arresting and killing Danton and all of his followers. On July 26 of 1794, he was making a speech at the convention of July 26, where he mentioned that he had found certain members of the convention were part of conspiracies, and then he made his fatal mistake. He said that the names were to be told the next day. There, members who felt that Robespierre was talking about them decided that they had enough of him. The next day, they arrested him, charged him with false accusations, and had him die to the guillotine. Thus, the Reign of Terror had come to an end on the 27th of July in 1794.
After Robespierre's death, an election was held, and with 1,057,000 votes in favor of the new constitution, a new regime called the Directory took effect on September 27th of 1795. However, nothing improved, and other countries had noticed France's internal conflict and pounced on the chance to start taking advantage of the situation. They looted and took away land, and since the French army was in such a poor state from trying to piece itself together after the revolution, it was not successful. For the next 4 years, France was a land of tragedy, but the revolution had already come to an end. France was in desperate need of a hero. And then, in the French army, suddenly, the so-needed hero emerged. A general who was said to be of genius mind, who won those battles for the weakened France, stepped into the spotlight. His name, Napoleon. But that's another story for another day. The official French Revolution was over, with its stories to be engraved in history books for eternity.